Hey y'all, this is Amanda and welcome back to my Texas Zone 8A garden. And today we're going to be doing an update on all the summer seedlings I started, I guess, a few 2 to 3 weeks ago. And I want to show you guys what's going on with them, the good, the bad, the ugly, and what I'm going to be doing to fix some of the issues. We're also going to be potting up most of these. We're going to be potting them up to larger containers. Okay, so I did a series of videos where I focused on some different seeds starting for the summer, and I'll drop all those below. We focused on celosia, we focused on zinnias, and we focused on marigolds. Now, my celosia are not ready to be potted up, so we're not really going to be looking at them today. We're going to be focusing on marigolds and zinnia seeds. I guess I should say seedlings. Seedlings. So I've had some really great successes with the seedlings, and I've had some not so great things going on with the seedlings. So why don't we start with marigolds and then we'll move on to zinnias. Okay, so I started all of my seedlings in these packs from Amazon, these seed starting trays for Amazon. I really like them. I've enjoyed them. Everything's done pretty well. I have some that are a little bit leggy, like this particular variety. This is Orange Hawaii, and it is a little bit leggy, but still looking really, really good. I think I had almost, it looks about 90% germination on them, which is really great. The leaves are nice and healthy. Everybody's looking good. These are definitely ready to be potted up to the next level. The next marigold right here, this one is called Spun Orange, looking absolutely beautiful and nice and short, was not leggy, super happy about that. I once again had about 90% germination, it's looking really great as well. The next marigold variety is Kilimanjaro White, which had pretty good germination, probably 75% germination, a little bit leggy, but still looking really, really good. Everybody said they had some issues with germinating these seeds, so I'm really happy that I got, that 75%. These are definitely ready to be potted up. Now, this variety is Sugar and Spice, and it was doing beautiful until I dropped this entire seedling tray on the floor. I was like, but it is doing really good. It is definitely ready to be potted up. It was 100% germination. I'm really excited to see what these look like this year. The next one is Giant Mission Yellow. They're doing beautiful, probably 95% germination. Once again, a little bit leggy. I definitely don't think I'm getting my seedlings high enough in the beginning, like high enough, close enough to the light. We've talked a little bit about that, how I'm wanting to install another board in there, and I really need to get that done. These are looking really good, definitely ready to be potted up to the next level. And then finally for marigolds, I've got my Starfire mix, which I would probably say 70% germination. They are super tiny, just kind of getting started, moving a little bit slow, which is totally fine. I'm not in a hurry. They're looking pretty good. I'm not going to be potting these up today because they are just too tiny to be dealing with. So I'm actually going to be putting these will be going back under the lights. So marigolds ended up being in really great shape. I was very happy with how well they germinated, and I'm very happy with how healthy the seedlings look. I haven't really dealt with anything except for legginess, and anytime you're dealing with legginess, that is a light issue. And when I say light issue, I mean they want to be closer to the light. And that is something that I've talked to you guys, this is a homemade setup for lighting that I created myself. And so I definitely think that my shelves are too far apart. I need a shelf in between so that they're much, much closer to the light. So that's something I do need to work on. Now let's talk about zinnias, because zinnias were all over the place. I had issues with germination and I've had issues with legginess. Let's go to legginess first. Check out those babies. That is some serious legginess. These are the Persian carpet zinnias, and I'm kind of shocked at how leggy they are compared to all the other zinnias. And so I'm going to, when I pot these up, I'm going to show you what I'm going to try out, see if it works. I'm going to try burying these a little bit deeper, seeing if I can get them going a little bit better, but I'm not really sure how well these are kind of going to go through. I might end up starting a whole nother round of these particular seeds. I will say I got 100% germination from my Persian carpet zinnias. Now let's talk about my Queen Lime series. Look how sad this one little tray is. This is my Queen Lime Red. These seeds were over a year old from Baker Creek, and I only got one out of all of them. am just kind of shocked. I think the seed packet wasn't good because, I mean, I haven't had this issue in the past with the Queen Line zinnias, Queen Line red zinnias, but I only ended up getting one, but I will use that little bitty one. So that's a little disappointing. I also had a pretty low germination rate on the Queen Lime orange. I ended up getting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 50% germination rate on these. Not great either. And then ironically, the Queen Lime Blush, which I have had issues with germination in the past, they actually did pretty well, probably about 60%. They've done really well, very healthy, beautiful seedlings. And then the new to me variety, the Queenie Lemon Peach, I probably had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, less than 50% on this germination as well. So a little disappointing on some of the zinnias this year. However, one zinnia that kicked butt was the Giant Dahlia Flowered White. Absolutely beautiful, 100% germination, looks wonderful, looks really, really good. So before we start potting all of these up, I do want to talk to you about a few issues that you might be running into with your seedlings. There's 4 main issues that I deal with my seedlings. That is mold, legginess, damping off, and the leaves turning yellow or brown or kind of translucent. So let's go over those few things. Mold, that tends to just be mold on the soil. It doesn't typically cause a lot of issues with your seedlings unless it's a massive buildup of mold. There are several ways you can fix that earlier on before starting out, or prevent that by using sterilized soil and things along those lines. A lot of people like to use cinnamon on the top of their soil, which is extremely helpful. I prefer to use air circulation. So I like to have just a small fan, or I've got a ceiling fan in here. I like to use that going. And by having really great air circulation throughout your seedlings, that helps prevent the mold buildup. You can also help prevent that or help get rid of it by being careful not to overwater your seedlings. You don't want them sitting in puddles of water. That is definitely going to breed more mold fungus on top of your soil. And you also want to look at overcrowding. You want it, once again, that kind of ties back into the air circulation. So that's one of the things that we thin seedlings, like you don't want 3 seedlings all compacted into one little seed cell. You want to make sure you have some really good circulation in there, not overcrowded, so that you can prevent any kind of mold fungus buildup. Legginess is obviously something that I dealt with this year, you know, in just a few of the particular ones. And I've already identified what the issue is. My seedlings need to be closer to the light. It's sad that I haven't taken care of that yet. I really need to deal with that, but I haven't done it. I'll get to it, I promise. But they need to be closer to the light, and that really helps with legginess. I am going to try to bury some of these leggy seedlings deeper into their pots, their larger pots that we're going to. It may or may not work. It does work really well with tomato seedlings, but that's because tomato seedlings can grow roots anywhere on their stems. That is not necessarily the case with these seedlings. We're going to try it out and see what happens. I don't really have anything to lose because the seedlings aren't in good shape anyway, so I might as well give it a try, and then I'll give you guys an update on if it worked or did not work. The next thing I deal with is damping off, and that basically is a fungus that causes your seedling basically to collapse and decay and die. This, once again, is dealt with by having really great air circulation. So you don't want to overcrowd all your seedlings in. You want to have a fan that's kind of lightly going through the space, moving air in between the seedlings, which helps prevent a fungus buildup. You also want to make sure that your soil is not overly compacted. If you guys remember, I don't push my soil down a whole lot. So you want to make sure you have some airiness through your soil as well, and that also helps with that buildup of the fungus in the soil, causing damping out. And the last thing I deal with is yellow, brown, or kind of translucent, almost burnt looking leaves. And that typically is from overwatering, over-fertilization, or too much sun when I transfer them outside. All of those are easy to deal with. If you are dealing with any kind of overwatering, just allow your seedlings to dry out. Really pay attention. Now, I'm not saying drying out for like multiple days. I'm saying allow the soil to get almost dry and then add a little bit of water. Cut your watering down by a percentage each time to make sure that you're kind of balancing it out and not overwatering. With over-fertilization, you really don't want to fertilize seedlings right at the beginning when they're first getting started. Once they get their first set of true leaves, that is a good time to start fertilizing. I use a water-soluble fertilizer, which works really, really well, and I probably maybe fertilize them once every 2 weeks. And then dealing with sunburn, when you are transitioning your seedlings outside, you're going to be bringing them out a little bit at a time. You're not going to just stick them out in the sun and leave them there. So when you start bringing them out, you want to make sure that you put them in a shady location to begin with, and then build from there. Start in the shady location and then introduce them to a little bit of sun at a time. If you see any kind of scalding on the leaves or they've just gotten too much sun, you can bring them back inside, make sure they're well watered, and then make sure they're in a much shadier place when you transition them back outside. Okay, so I'm really excited. Let's get all of these transitioned into bigger pots. That term is called potting up. I get tongue twisters with the potting up quite frequently, but basically we're taking these small seed cells and we're putting them in a larger pot and giving it more room for the roots to expand and become a more mature plant. This is something I definitely suggest doing before transitioning outside. I find it hard in my particular location, specifically because of the heat, and I am growing summer seedlings. If I transition them in these small little seed cells out into the outside, out into the heat and dryness of my summer, then we end up having issues keeping them well watered and keeping them from dying. So by having them in a larger, each of them in larger pots, I'm going to most likely be more successful in the end, keeping them well watered and keeping those roots moist while they're transitioning outside in that heat. Okay, I'm going to slow down the process here a little bit because I've gotten to my really leggy Persian shield seedlings. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to go through and I'm going to prune out, cut out any of the seedlings where there's just a bazillion of them. And if they're like so leggy that they're falling over, I'm actually just going to let them go. And it's hard when they get like this because literally they're tangled up with one another. Okay, so I've got those going. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take one of my containers, got soil in it, and I'm basically going to dump most of it out and just leave about 1 inch in there. Then I'm going to take my seedling and scoop it out, trying to keep as much of the root system as possible. And I'm going to nestle it down into the container. And then I'm going to hold the seedling upright. I'm going to gently backfill around it. And that's what I'm going to try to do to save some of these Persian carpet zinnias. Now, do I know if this is going to work? No, I don't know if this is going to work, y'all. This is totally trial and error. Let's see what happens. If it works, great. If it doesn't, well, we still learn something. You learn a lot from gardening, from like messing up. All right, I'm going to speed this up. Okay, so we got all of that potted up. I try to reuse containers that I have from the gardening center when I'm buying plants, specifically annuals. And then on these larger containers, these kind of quart size ones, I'll typically put anywhere from 2 to 3 seedlings in each one. Those are the ones that I typically send to my friend Kristen, just because it's easier for me to plant that up and send them to her that way. And then I've got everything done. We tried planting some of the seedlings a little deeper. We'll see what happens. I don't know. Maybe it'll work, maybe it won't. I'll make sure to give you guys an update. The next step I'm going to do is I'm going to take all these outside and water them. When I water them, I'm going to be very, very careful. I'll probably use a watering can to start off with and just dribbling water into each of these very carefully to make sure that I don't overwhelm and smash the seedlings down with the hose. I'm not going to show that on camera, it's just watering. But I hope you guys enjoyed today's video talking about the 4 things that I deal with seedlings and how I handle or how I try to prevent that, and then seeing me pot all of these up, and then I will keep you guys updated on if the leggy ones end up surviving. As always, make sure you hit that subscribe button and that notification bell so you know when my latest videos are up, and make sure you check me out on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. As always, she's a mad gardener or decorator or anything else that she wants to be. Thanks, y'all.